The Blue House by Dudu Busani-Dube. Chapter 1. Also, you can't now say, just because she grabbed that boy by his neck and slammed him on the wall, that she bites the back of her thumb until it bleeds, that she talks to things in the dark, that when the moon is full, she shows it her body, that she remembers the dead and won't acknowledge the living, that sometimes, when she looks at you and her hand reaches for your face and you fear she's about to claw your eyes out, you can't now say, because of that, those small, harmless things, you can't now say we should throw her away. Has she ever clawed your eyes out? No. That boy didn't die by her hand. Your sister is here. She lives, she breathes. She doesn't cry, but she doesn't talk either, does she? That's it. That is being here. Emotion, good and bad. You've seen it, haven't you? Not often, yes, but we've seen it. And it was when it mattered. Your heart is there, beating, hoof, half, hoof, half, every second. You've heard it, haven't you? Every time she hooks her arm around your neck, trying to strangle you to death. Every time she throws sharp things at you, or cups, or plates, or the couple of times she slashed you with a razor blade. Those aren't great things, but they are things that your sister does sometimes. And none of them change the fact that she is your sister. And we can't throw her away. It is us. Just the three of us in this world. We have no one else. We must keep each other. I remembered those days, clearly so, because they had been my everyday life for years prior to my grandmother giving that speech. I had said to her, it's either me or her. We were either going to take my sister where she needed to go or I would run away. I was 2 weeks away from turning 13. But my grandmother wasn't someone to be given ultimatums. Not by me and not by the peeping Tom neighbor who saw my sister lying stark naked on the lawn in the middle of one April night. Our fence walls were high for a few particular reasons. The most important two being to keep my sister inside and to keep people outside. My grandmother knew the exact date and time my sister became like that. I didn't remember. I just knew that by the time I turned 10, I didn't remember my sister's voice at all. I only remembered certain scents and her hand holding mine every night. It was a feeling I did not understand, but now and again I would dream of a warm hand clasping mine and gentle arms holding me tight, and I always knew they were hers. Away from the dreams, I had learned to stay clear of her, leave the room when she walked in, lock the bathroom door, and to never ever make eye contact with her, because every time I did, she attacked me. My grandmother was still strong enough to pull her off of me then, but when the years had gotten to her and she started shuffling her feet and bending her shoulders, I knew all my sister needed was one chance, a few seconds to kill me. When it came to her, my sister, I never really bothered with the why. She was the way she was and I had never known a different version of her. I insisted to my grandmother that my sister was crazy, but she wouldn't accept the obvious. Instead, she looked at me like I was insulting her. I'd say, Gogo, but I'm scared of her. Why is she always trying to hurt me? Grandmother would not give me an answer. Instead, she'd hush me away and go to check on my sister. I made peace with the fact that she wouldn't choose between us, like we were a package to her, a thing she had to keep intact. Before she became like that, my sister spoke about her mother, whom she never called our mother, even though we were siblings. She rarely spoke about her father, but often said a lot about her house, where she had a big bedroom filled with teddy bears and a shelf with pink panties. As far as I knew, our mother died when I was an infant, and we never lived anywhere except in Cullinan, where our house was big enough, but our yard even bigger. I went to school not far from the high school where my grandmother cooked and dished the feeding scheme food to the children. That was her job. I remembered my sister wearing a school uniform at some point, like that one that those high school kids wore, but it didn't last long. She stopped going to school and we left her at home every morning and came back to find her sitting either on the veranda or curled up at some corner inside the house. She died when she was 27 years old. Nothing to write home about. She went to sleep and never woke up. I felt free for the first time in years. I was 13 years old. Grandmother gave her a dignified funeral and then cried for a whole month. I didn't cry at all. For the first time in years, we could leave our gate open. I could sleep with my bedroom door unlocked and I could go to the bathroom in the middle of the night without having to wake my grandmother up. The 13 years after her death were a bliss. I did all the things normal people do. I finished school, loved some boys, graduated from high school, I got a job, moved out of home, bought a car, loved a man who showed me flames for 2 years, and almost even forgot about my sister. Until 3 months ago when I had to quit my job and move back home to take care of my grandmother. She had been sick for 2 years, in and out of hospital, but the cancer kept spreading. They found her too late. She was against me moving back home, said she could take care of herself, that she'd been doing that all her life. I came home anyway because I knew she was dying. She was the only person I had in this life, and I wanted to spend the last of her days with her. She talked a lot about my sister, but most of what she said didn't make sense. I knew when she called my name in the middle of the night, put her hand over mine as I sat on the edge of her bed, and pulled out an old pouch from her breasts, that she was saying her goodbye. Take this. Inside there are house keys. Take this and go to the house. It is your house. I don't want you living here, not without me. Do you hear me? She spoke with struggle, but her eyes were still firm. I don't understand, Gogo. This is my home. It is, but I want you to go to that house. It's in De Deer. You will find it. The address is in there. Stay in that house until it is time for you to leave. You will know when it is time for you to leave it. I was confused and curious, but she spoke with so much difficulty. It was painful to watch. Pestering her with questions would have been torturing her. I didn't know where De Deer was, but I knew my grandmother was serious and that she wasn't going to make it to the morning. I laid a sponge on the floor and slept there in the bedroom. I could hear her breathing from above. When I woke up, it was quiet. She was gone. I buried her last week. All the neighbors came and her church people told me to be strong, that it would pass. And now, 7 days later, I lock up the only home I've ever known, and the gate too. I left with just my clothes and 2 blankets. I don't know where I'm going and how long I'll be there. I've decided that I'll sell my home since I cannot live there, move back to the city and buy a townhouse. I'll ask for my job back, and if they've already replaced me, I will look for another one. But first, let me do this. I'll sell this house she gave me the keys to as well, since she said it is mine. The navigator tells me I'm 4 minutes away from it and tells me to turn right on the next road. Grandmother told me a lot of stories when I was growing up about my mother and how she grew up in that same house that my sister and I grew up in. She'd tell me about how loud my mother was and how hard she laughed at even the smallest things. I loved hearing these stories, but I think my sister didn't because my grandmother always makes sure to never tell them in her presence. The GPS stops me at the gate of a plot number 4 De Beer Farm. There's no street name. The gate and the fence are almost fully rusted. The grass is high and the paint on the house is peeling. It was blue, but you can tell it has been through many rains. It's an abandoned house. I have to use all my strength to pull the gate open, and just as I think I'm succeeding, it comes off and drops to the ground. I'm left with rust all over my hands. I'm not staying here. It won't make my grandmother any less dead if I don't spend a single night here. Besides, this is not a safe area for a woman living alone. I counted only 3 houses since I took the right turn to the dirt road, and they're all built the same way, just different paint colors. This one is the 4th house and the last before the road comes to a dead end. These are plots. The closest neighbor is more than a kilometer away. I don't think the phone signal is any good too. There are only 3 keys in the batch grandmother gave me. The lock only turns when I try the 3rd one. I'm sure the door will fall just like the gate when I forcefully push it. But it doesn't, and as I walk in, I inhale dust so thick I can feel it blocking my nose and clouding my eyes. This is a sitting room, with maroon sofas that are not sold in furniture shops anymore. There is a wood coffee table with a cloth runner over it, a room divider with books and a small TV in the middle. They don't make these TVs that are big at the back anymore. But I remember we had one like this at home when I was a kid. In fact, we had it for the longest time until I started working and bought a flat screen. The house is dusty, but it looks like everything is where it should be, like the last person who was in here cleaned it before they walked out the door and never returned. As I cross from the sitting room to the dining room to the kitchen, I discover that the house is bigger than it looks from the outside. Most of it is at the back. I walk through a long passage to the back door and come out to a veranda. Across me, still far but close enough for me to see people, is another house on a plot. It is smaller than this one, but it has more life. Children everywhere. I don't see any adults, but there must be a lot of them living there because those many kids can't all be from one couple. This house has 4 bedrooms, a big kitchen, lounge, sitting room, and another room that looks like a study. All the rooms are filled with dust and look like they were last occupied decades ago. I'm scared to touch things because I think they have outlived their time. They might fall into pieces like the gate. There isn't anything in this house that feels familiar to me, and I'd be surprised if that stove works or if I don't fall to my death if I dare stomp harder on the wooden floors or touch anything covered in spiderweb, which is almost everything. I do not understand why it is so important to my grandmother for me to come here, but it seemed like her dying wish. "This is not your bedroom," a tiny voice says behind me as I'm about to open the wardrobe. She's standing at the door looking up at me. "Hello, little one. I forgot to close the front door, and now I have a random kid in here." "Hello," she says with a smile. She still has her baby teeth, so she must be around 4 years old. I'm awkward around kids. I never know what to say to them. "Your dress is very nice, but where are your shoes? And how did you get here? Where do you live?" I'm being polite because I don't want to startle her. She must have seen my car parked on the yard and got curious. "We don't wear shoes in the house, remember? You must take yours off now or you'll get into trouble." "Okay, little girl, it's time for you to go home. I have enough problems for you to be imposing whatever rules they have in your home here." Before she appeared, I was about to go through stuff in the bedroom hoping to find something. Old pictures or anything that connects my grandmother to this house. But that was just me derailing from my plans because today I only came here to meet the house. Finding out how it is connected to my family is something I plan to do tomorrow. This little girl is just a random feature, and she must go home because I'm also leaving now. "I have to go now. I can drop you off at your home. Where do you live?" "Yeah," she says with a giggle. Kids are cute, but I don't have any, so I don't have the patience. I'm about to ask again when she runs off. By the time I get to the back door, she's gone. I assume she's from the house across with many kids, so clearly she'd know her way around here. The bed and breakfast I'm booked at is 12 minutes away. It was the only one I could find with any available room in this area, and I already know it is a far cry from luxury. Small towns never disappoint when it comes to giving the bare minimum. The only place I find on the way is a small white building with just 3 stalls, but only one person inside. There's a crazy-looking man sitting outside, but I don't have any spare change, so I rush past him as he looks at me like he wants to ask for something. There's a woman at the counter, and she looked at me from head to toe 3 times before I reach her. "Where are you from? We don't get a lot of tourists around this time." And of course, she's the chatty old white lady you find at every farm stall. I'm just here for some biltong and something to eat for supper, but I'll be lucky if I come out of here without having told her my whole life story. I'm not a tourist, actually. I grew up in a small mining town like this one, so I say and shrug. She flashes a little smile and grabs a brown paper bag when she notices me looking at the biltong store. "We treat everyone we don't know as a tourist. Everyone knows everyone here. Which one would you like?" "Yeah, I'd figured that out." I point at the one that looks chewable. She says something about the other one being nicer, but I'm not interested because there's no such thing as nice biltong. I want food, but all I can see are frozen pies and sticky baked things. "You look like you're from a big city. Where are you staying?" "At an Airbnb not far from here. But I have a house over there at the plots. I inherited it. In fact, do you know anyone who can come and clean it for me? I'm going to need a painter too, and a plumber, and someone to sort out electricity. It's been empty for years. I need to fix everything in that house before I put it on the market. I'm not looking forward to the dreadful trips to the municipal offices. Do you know any estate agents around here?" When I look up at her, I can tell she didn't hear my last question. "A house." "Which house?" she asks. "Plot number 4. I've just come back from there and it's in a bad state. No electricity, no running water. I didn't even know it existed until my grandmother died a week ago." "Plot 4? she asks. I nod. I notice that her energy has switched. She's not the chatty old lady anymore. She hurriedly and anxiously packs my stuff in a plastic bag and shoves it to my chest. No eye contact. "Thank you. About the cleaners and painters, I'll ask around." She cuts me off. The look on her face says something has changed between the moment I walked in here and now. She closes the door behind me and flips the sign at the door to closed. Weird. Chapter 3. Last night, I asked that man who owns the bed and breakfast if he knew anyone who could come and clean the house for me. He said there was someone, a lady who comes to clean for him when it's busy, which he said was during summer. He said, "People come here for the farmer's market and the caves. Otherwise, they stay away." I found that strange, considering the fact that the place is less than an hour away from Joburg, the biggest city in the country. He promised that the lady would be at his gate early in the morning, waiting to drive to the house with me. But when he served me breakfast that morning, I could feel something was different. Last night, when I arrived, he was all happy and accommodative, but this morning he seemed like he couldn't wait for me to leave. I've booked this place for a whole week. Tough luck for him because he can't kick me out. I know my rights. He told me the lady had cancelled before I could even ask. I would have pried for more if he wasn't so aloof throughout our interaction. I've met only 3 people in this town: the child, the old lady, and the middle-aged man. And all of them have been weird. In Joburg, finding someone to clean your house for a day is the easiest thing. There's always women standing at the traffic lights asking for piece jobs and men asking for any job. It is usually illegal immigrants who do any work to get money for their next meal. There's none of that here. And as I enter the farm stall, I'm hoping the old woman from yesterday will be more helpful today. But she isn't here. And I'll tell you now that I'm glad to see a black middle-aged woman behind the counter and a young man packing jam jars on the shelves. I greet her in Tswana, wide smile on my face. She raises her eyes to look at me briefly and immediately looks down. My immediate assumption is that she doesn't understand Setswana, so I greet her in one of the Nguni languages. It could be Zulu or Xhosa. I'm not sure, they're too close to each other. The thing about growing up in a mining town is that you learn every language, because everyone who ends up there originated from somewhere, and if there's one thing Africans will hold on to with all their might, is the language of their tribe. It takes some minutes for her to finally acknowledge my presence here in front of the counter, and it's by stopping whatever she's been pretending to be busy with and coming to stand in front of me. She greets me back in Setswana, so it wasn't the language. Do you make food, Mama? A full meal that I can buy as a takeaway. We have pies, she says, pointing at a glass shelf across the room. Well, at least they aren't the frozen ones. They look freshly baked. But I'm not eating pie 2 days in a row, so I pick up a packet of biscuits, bottled water, and a can of Coke. I don't see the old lady from yesterday anyway, so I guess I have to try this one now. Do you know anyone in need of a piece job? I need someone to clean for me, and someone to paint, and a plumber, and an electrician, and someone to cut the grass. I need a lot of people. Still, she doesn't look up at me as she scans the items and holds out her hand for payment. I hand her the cash and stand still, waiting for an answer. It doesn't come. Instead, she leaves the counter and goes to the back. I'm left standing with my items in a plastic bag, wondering why a woman old enough to be my mother would give me the cold shoulder when, as long as I have lived, I have known women her age, women who look and dress like her, to mind everyone's business except their own. As I make my way to the car, I'm starting to be anxious because I'm seeing a pattern now. Ausie, a deep voice says behind me as I throw the plastic bag on the back seat. It's the young man who was packing the shelves. He's standing behind the car, frantically looking around as if he doesn't want anyone to see him talking to me. My girlfriend needs the job. She can come clean for you. I can also get you painters and an electrician, he says. He's speaking in a hushed voice, like this is something he shouldn't be doing. Really? Can she come today? He shakes his head and looks around as if to make sure no one is watching us. No, tomorrow, early in the morning, he says. At this point, I don't really care how strange this is. I just want to do what needs to be done and go back to Joburg. Okay, take my number and the address so I know where the house is, Ausie. Everyone knows you're here, he says, and hurriedly walks away. I don't get a chance to ask him what he means by everybody. There are hardly any people here, but in every town, there's always a township, right? I conclude that's where the people are. The 10 minutes from the farm stall to the house feels shorter than yesterday's drive. It's still as quiet as it was, though, and the gate that fell on me is still exactly where I left it. I've decided that since there won't be any progress today, I'm going to focus on looking for anything that connects my family to this house. I will open every shelf and every closet in this house because there must be something, photographs or something. When I leave, I will give away all the stuff, including this ancient stove. Everything is old and outdated, but I'm sure there's a family out there that will appreciate these sofas and the beds and the wardrobes. As I enter every room, I cannot for the life of me understand why my grandmother decided to live in that house in Cullinan instead of this far bigger one here, in this quiet and peaceful place. She never liked the neighbors and all that noise that surrounded us. This here would have been the perfect place for her to live, but she left it abandoned for whatever reason. Except for the Bible in that first drawer and an empty plastic jar of Vaseline in the bottom one, the chest of drawers in the main bedroom is empty. Just dust and insect carcasses. Of all the 4 bedrooms in this house, it is by far the emptiest. Even the bed is stripped. The bedroom next to it has 2 single beds and no wardrobes. They are also stripped and I dare not go near them. not with a spider web going all the way up to the roof. There are no wardrobes in it, just the beds. It is strange that this house has seen years of rains and heat waves, but still, it has no mold on the walls. Everything is intact. Sometimes when it rains too hard, the roof sounds like it's going to fall. A tiny voice says behind me. Not this little menace again. She finds me in the kitchen this time. She's wearing the same yellow dress and is barefoot like she was yesterday. You must fix it. We need a new roof, she says. I'm in that awkward state again because I don't know what to say to her or how to kick her out without sounding like a mean adult. She has that same stuffed animal that she had under her arm yesterday. When I saw it then, I didn't see it as a big deal. But now I'm starting to think that she's one of those kids who get attached to things like stuffed animals because they are neglected. I take a deep sigh before I force a warm smile and bend down to talk to her. I can't compliment a dress again, so I look at the teddy bear and try to sound as cute as possible. That's a cute bear. What's its name? She frowns at me. If she wasn't a tiny little thing, I'd be worried about how angry she looks right now. You don't remember Pinky? How could you forget Pinky? I don't like her tone, and the look in her eyes and the way she quickly steps back when I reach my hand out to touch the teddy bear. Its name is Pinky, I ask, trying to smile as wide as I can. But that seems to make her more angry. The teddy bear is pink, dirty with one ear missing, but it makes sense why it's named Pinky. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch Pinky. He's cute. Like I said, I'm awkward around children. Pinky is a girl, she says, her eyes filled with anger. I did not come here for this. This child should be at home, not here talking to a stranger. It's a case of bad parenting if you ask me, because how does a mother let her wander off to an abandoned house on her own? Back in Joburg, this would be something to be reported to social workers. An unkempt child, wearing the same clothes for 2 days, wandering off to people's houses, talking to strangers. But this isn't Joburg. Clearly people here still trust one another with their kids. I'm here to fix the house. I'll make it clean and beautiful. There's suddenly a smile on her face. And then we can play in our room again. Did you see a real elephant when you were outside? You always wanted to see a real elephant. I don't want to kill the sparkle in her eyes, so I smile and tell her yes. Children have such interesting imaginations, especially at that age. I'm thinking that if I was staying here longer, maybe at some point I was going to introduce myself to her parents and ask if I can take her to the zoo to see a real elephant. I assume she's never been to one, or anywhere for that matter. Do you live in that house across? I ask. She tilts her head a bit and squints her eyes at me, as if my question confuses her. Okay, I need her to go so I can continue searching this house for clues. I tell her I have to start cleaning. Her face lights up again. Are you going to cook too? They cut the electricity and it broke the TV and the stove, she says. Before I come here tomorrow, I need to Google how to politely get rid of a child following you around a house. If I'm lucky, she'll get bored and leave. But for now, I have no choice but to do what I need to do with her here. I hand her the packet of biscuits and the can of Coke, hoping she'll sit down somewhere and focus on them. But she doesn't. Instead, she asks me if the elephant I saw was as big as this house. Don't you go to school? She should be in grade 0 or something. Again, that confused look on her face. I was at school. You're the one that doesn't go to school. I taught you how to write, remember? And I told you about elephants. It was cute, but now it's getting weird. She probably has some undiagnosed condition that I'm not qualified to understand. Look, she exclaims, pulling open the drawer of a randomly placed wooden cabinet on the passage. I noticed it yesterday, particularly because it looks like a piece of art, like those hand-carved wooden antiques that last a lifetime. Look, she says again. She has pulled out a bunch of papers from the drawer and is holding them for me to see. They're drawings, clearly done by a child with crayons. It's mostly animals drawn by a kid who clearly couldn't draw to save their life. They are what I make out to be elephants. The others are of animals too, but I can't really tell what they're supposed to be, just that they have 4 legs. I forgot what the others look like, but not the elephant, she says with a proud smile on her face. She specifically picks one from the pile and waves it at me. It looks like it is supposed to be an elephant, but it's colored pink, and the trunk is uneven. You got it on the 4th try, she says, smiling, pride still all over her face. At the top of the page is the name my sister used to call me every time she had one of her episodes. Girly. The letters are crooked and it looks like it took great effort to write. I remember how my grandmother would be more upset about her calling me that name than she was about the fact that she was always trying to kill me. I never really paid attention to that name because I always thought she was calling me a girly, as in little girl. But now, this is strange. This is the first thing that I have found that is some connection between my family and this house. That's if it means anything at all. Do you play here in this house all the time? I ask. She nods and hugs Pinky tight, with a fascinated smile on her face. I thought so. As to why a parent would let their child play in an abandoned house all by herself, I do not understand. Things could have fallen over her, she could have been choked by dust, or worse, some psycho could have found her here, and Lord knows what they would have done to her. It's a good thing this house will have some new owners as soon as I'm done with it. But for now, this child needs to understand that she can't come and go as she pleases anymore. You have to go home now, sweetie. I'm sure Pinky wants to go home too. I know, I'm hopeless at this. That flash of anger is on her face again. Her fists are clenched too. What's your name? I ask. I probably should have asked her that yesterday. She doesn't answer me, and the way she is feistily staring at me is making me uncomfortable. She throws Pinky at me, hitting me on the face, and before I can react, she is running down the passage. By the time I get to the back door, she's gone. I can't see her anywhere. That was rude of her, and she's not welcome here again. I'm standing on the porch, hoping to see her run to the yard of the house across, which is buzzing with neglected kids and no adults in sight. She doesn't emerge on the other side, so I figure she ran off to bother another neighbor somewhere. It's noon, and seeing as there is nothing I can do about this house today, I might as well go back to the B&B and spend the whole afternoon locked inside my room because there's nothing to do there. They don't even have a swimming pool. I grab the pile of drawings on my way out because so far they're the only interesting thing I've found here. I'm not sure what I plan to do with them. My GPS says the closest place I can get fast food at is 30 minutes away, and it is listing 2 places, Vereniging and Meerton. I'm not driving that far. That's a whole hour on the road. So I guess I have no choice but to go back to the farm stall and get a pie. Again. The woman I find at the counter is not the one who was here in the morning. This one is a young girl, and I feel like I've seen her before. I like your hair. You're not from around here, are you? She says. My hair is nothing but long, straight-back cornrows with beads here and there. It's a very common hairstyle lately. She looks like a typical girl from a small town, so I understand why she's not aware of the current hairstyle trends. No, I'm not. Do you have any food besides pies? She laughs out loud. Even I'm tired of these pies, but they are our specialty, the pride and joy of this town. They even have a unique design of a pumpkin on top. She's still laughing. Yeah, I noticed the pumpkin design. It makes the whole thing even more annoying. I hope they don't make pumpkin pies too, because that would be an abomination. She's the most normal person I have met in this town so far. I look around for the young man who was packing the shelves in the morning, but I don't see him anywhere. I'll make a club sandwich for you. How do you like your egg? Oh, thank you, Lord. Hard, please. She smiles and hurries off to what I assume is the kitchen at the back. Steak or some lamb chops with vegetables on the side would have been nice, but you know what? A sandwich for dinner is far better than a frozen pie. The strange thing, though, is that I'm alone in this store. There aren't people even outside, and the fact that she left me here without thinking twice means they have no crime problems. Must be nice. How long does it take to make a sandwich with a fried egg, bacon, a burger patty, and fried chips on the side? I do not know. So I pace around the store, trying to pass time, when some raggedy, smelly man walks in looking like he hasn't bathed in 5 years. Istunzela! He shouts, pointing at me, his eyes wide and his brown teeth all out. It's the same crazy-looking man I saw yesterday. I do not understand what the word he just said to me means, and I don't want him coming too close to me. That long black coat he is wearing looks like it is infested with lice. I won't even talk about his hair. Istunzela! Isitunzela! Istunzela! He's still shouting, finger pointed at me, but he doesn't attempt to get near me, and that is some relief. Jumanji, why are you in here? You know you're not supposed to come inside. I'll bring you your pie when we close, man. Get out. It's the girl shouting, Jumanji, which I've figured out is his name, is still standing with his finger pointed at me. It takes a few seconds before it looks like he has gotten out of a trance, and without saying another word, he walks out. I can still smell him, even after the door closes. That was scary. But the girl looks unfazed, so maybe this happens often. Here's your sandwich. Don't mind him. Usually he never comes in here. I don't know what's gotten into him today. He is completely harmless, though. Just a town maniac. Every community has one of those, she says, handing me a takeaway container. It smells nice, and I can't wait to get to my room to eat it. I've just started the car when Jumanji appears again, banging his dirty hand on my closed passenger window. I'm so startled I almost scream. Our eyes meet, but he quickly drops his to the passenger seat of my car. The drawings are lying there, his teeth grinding and eyes wide. "Isithunzela!" he screams. I screech out at high speed.